Hi everybody, here's a little background on P. Diddy's father, Melvin Combs, who was a drug dealer and a hitman for famed gangster Nicky Barnes. This video also shows how ironic Diddy's life is and how the apple didn't fall far from the tree. So let's get into it.
My father's name was Melvin Combs, Melvin's son, Sharrell Combs. My father was a hustler, he was a drug dealer, he was a hustler.
I'm a Harlem boy, no disrespect to anybody. That's where my mom is from, that's where my father's from, that's where my father died at, that's where I was born.
Melvin was born April 15th, 1938, in Harlem, New York. His father was named Isaac Combs Jr., and his mother was named Helen Combs. Now, they're saying that Melvin was well educated, and he even served in the Air Force during the war. And that's the Vietnam War that ended in 1973. And when he got home from the war, heroin had took over the streets of Harlem. So when he couldn't find a job, a quick, easy fix was to start selling. Now, the rumor is he was a small-time dealer until he caught the eye of big-time drug dealer, mob-related drug dealer, Nicky Barnes. Now, if anybody doesn't know what a big deal that was, then take a look at this.
Nicky Barnes was the #1 heroin dealer in the country.
He's raking in millions of dollars.
In the early 1970s, Nicky Barnes was rising to the top of New York's drug trade.
He used his street knowledge to become a multi-zillionaire. Nicky Barnes was the #1 heroin dealer in the country.
But success came with a price. He himself was a heroin addict. During 2 stints in prison, mobsters Joey Gallo and Matty Madonna had taught Nicky the ways of the mafia. Matty preached that for mafia dons, the key to success was discipline and distance.
Guys like Matty Madonna are telling him, look, you gotta, to be a real player in the heroin industry, you can't use your product. And these guys want to be as far away from their heroin as possible.
Nicky had taken Matty's advice and was no longer using junk. Free of addiction, he was ready to be a serious player in the drug-dealing world.
I started thinking about how am I going to get a group of guys that could insulate me.
Nicky set out to recruit the best and the brightest in the black underworld.
So he puts together a coalition of 7 top black drug dealers, and he called them the Council.
This group of men became Nicky Barnes' council, pledging to be loyal to one another.
The council oath was, treat my brother as I treat myself.
Together, the council would build a hierarchy of lieutenants and dealers who'd sell the product on the streets and funnel the profits up the chain of command.
Now, the council ran very similar to the mob. They were 7 independent, so they all did their own thing, but they had rules and they worked with each other. And one of the members of the council was the very famous Frank Lucas. Now, Frank Lucas was very famous, but he became infamous when Denzel Washington played him in the movie The American Gangster. And if you watch the movie The American Gangster, then you would know that Frank Lucas was no joke. He became famous for getting rid of the middleman. And there's only one way to get rid of a middleman, and that's pow pow. And if you're living in that kind of life, everybody needs a pow pow man, which they renamed the Hitman. And this is what Melvin Combs was to Nicky Barnes, the head guy in charge. He was the pow pow man, the hitman, the make them go bye-bye. Man, I mean, you get the picture. Now, you know, all of the gangster movies have a tendency to glorify this type of person, but they're not to be glorified. They have no regard for anybody except for themselves. So this is who P. Diddy's father was. And one of his good friends was no other than Frank Lucas.
Me and Melvin Combs were good friends. We did a lot of business together. Of course, it was not a legal business, but we did a lot of business together.
And I know Melvin used to come to your club, the turntable, a lot.
Yes, he did. He come there all the time. Melvin was like a lady man. Yeah, he come there all the time. He come to my club all the time. Yes, he did.
Can you say the name of your club?
The Lord Price Turntable, 52nd and Broadway.
And they were, as the young people would say, about that life.
Nicky Barnes' heroin seemed to be everywhere. The council had carved up Harlem and parts of Brooklyn into territories. The money rolled in, making Nicky a very rich man. He was earning more than $25 million a year, cash. But now, the newly formed Drug Enforcement Administration had him in its sights. Agents Louis Diaz and Mary Buckley were going undercover with the help of two informants who had ties to Nicky's inner circle.
Now, Nicky finds out that someone in his camp is a snitch or informant. So he falsely, he falsely assumes that it's Diddy's father, Melvin. So Nicky himself orders the hit on Diddy's father. And they catch him sitting in a car by himself. And they went by and did the deed. So when Melvin was unalived, he was married to Diddy's mother, Janice, with 2 children. His oldest daughter named Keisha and his youngest son named Sean, who we call P. Diddy Combs. Now, according to the rumors coming from someone in Frank Luca's camp, when Melvin passed away, yes, he had a wife and 2 children, but he also had a 22-year-old mistress at the time.
I was sorry to see what happened to him. That shocked the hell out of me. And the guy who did it, I'm glad he got what he got. Melvin was like a lady man.
And Janice knew about this mistress. Not only did she know about the mistress, she was afraid that Melvin was going to leave her for the mistress. So when Nicky Barnes sends the trigger man to Janice's house to find out where exactly Melvin was going to be that night, she told him. Many are saying that Janice didn't know that they were going to unalive him. She thought they were just going to rough him up. At the time of his death, Melvin was 33 years old and Diddy was only 3. And to make things even more complicated, Janice took the children and moved to Mount Vernon and began dating the man that is being accused of unaliving Melvin. Now, according to Frank Lucas, this wasn't very long because the man accused of unaliving Melvin quickly became unalived himself. And when that happened, that's when Janice walked away from that life completely. But the drug game kept on going. They said that Nicky became paranoid and he didn't trust anybody.
March 15th, 1977. After a 6-month undercover operation, prosecutors were ready to take Barnes down. Arrest warrants were issued for Nicky and more than a dozen associates. In all, 18 people were arrested along with Nicky, including council members Jazz Hayden and Guy Fisher. Authorities also seized $1 million in heroin and $300,000 in cash. On December 2nd, 1977, after 9 weeks of testimony, the verdict was in. Nicky Barnes and 10 co-defendants, including council member Jazz Hayden, were found guilty. Everyone except Nicky's protege, Guy Fisher.
Now, this didn't stop Nicky's reign of power. He ran the ring from the inside of the prison. And Guy Fisher was just the face of the organization.
Now, Fisher was running the organization. Nicky's appeals had been denied. And there was more devastating news. His protege, Guy Fisher, was having an affair with Nicky's young mistress, Shemeka. It was a serious violation of one of the council's core oaths of loyalty.
Nicky decides to go after Guy Fisher with the only means he has available, which is to throw himself, to the feds and say, I'm going to help you take these guys down.
I know I can't run this thing from here, but I could wreck the motherfucker from here. I can't run it from here, but I could wreck it.
And wreck it is what he did. He turned state's evidence, turning any and everybody he could in. And then he goes into the witness protection program. Now, none of this helped Diddy's mother, Janice. She still had to take care of 2 small children. Now, it was during these times when the rumors came in that she was a streetwalker, a woman of the night. Now, I don't know if I necessarily believe this, but I had to say it since it's going around the internet. Also, according to Diddy, she would work up to 3 jobs to provide for her children. They also said that Diddy's father would often put his hands on his mom. Now, he doesn't remember any of that. He was 3 years old. So I don't even know if that affected him later on down the line, but this is what happened. Now, Diddy would grow up to go to college, Howard University. But he never stopped hanging around street guys. His first cousin, who they called Daryl Papa Taylor, would go on to become a member of the Black Mafia family. According to the rumors, Papa worked under the reigns of Big Meech, and we all know who Big Meech is. If you don't, then you don't watch 50 Cent's show, BMF. Big Meech was infamous and, according to the rumors, scheduled to get out of prison, I believe they said in January. And Diddy never forgot how Nicky Barnes ran his empire. In fact, many didn't. He became the blueprint how to run a drug empire. Many would go on to say that Puff used Nicky's blueprint to run Bad Boy. Yet in public, he would say that he took the blueprint from his father, but many said no, it wasn't his father, it was Nicky Barnes.
I decided to embrace the entrepreneurial spirit of my father, but in an honest way. God bless you, Melvin Combs. I could feel you right next to me.
And not only did he have Nicky Barnes' blueprint in his head, he would go back and talk to the old timers to perfect it. Now, of course, Frank Lucas couldn't admit to this. I mean, you can't sit down and tell the press that, yeah, I taught him everything that me and Nicky Barnes used to do back in the day. He kind of cleaned it up, for the press.
They wanted me to tell him about his father, so I come over there and I told him something about his father, but I didn't give him the whole story because it didn't impress me. He just asked me casual, and I told him casual, but if it impressed me, I would have told him the whole story.
About his dad?
Yeah, well, all I know, but I didn't do that because it didn't impress him. If we act like it really want to know, we act like it was just another thing, so I had to go.
Right.
So by the time Diddy opened up Bad Boy Records, rumor is he ran that thing like it was the mob. He didn't give a damn about how anybody cared about anything. He had to do what he had to do to get what he wanted. He was about that life, hanging with the low lives and doing what he had to do to get richer and richer.
Can't no bitch out there say that she handled my shit. My father's a pastor, so my whole thing is that my grandfather being a pimp, it's just like I'm third generation Aaron Hall III. My father's is Aaron Hall Jr. He's a pastor, so I just skipped over it like checkers. And my whole thing is that if you never heard a girl say that no fucked up trick shit about Aaron Hall, then you understand that Let's Chill shit is some real shit. So
yeah, that's glory, and tell them about it.
So when you put Aaron's on it, when you fuck a bitch for 3 days and take the bitch hand and take him out of the man's hand, then you a retired pimp. Yeah. I like for them to see how I like if you speak to Jodeci or Puffy or any of them. They've been at my house. They all see me. They all know I'm a big.
Although there is no footage of this, based on people that I've spoken to close to the situation, Diddy really did punch Drake in the face.
Oh, I got that call 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
I was laying in my bed, and my phone kept ringing. I'm like, why my phone keep ringing at 4 o'clock in the morning? So I go to look at my phone, and it's my dude, And they ain't, he ain't no just random guy in the club. This is somebody that everybody knows.
Right.
He's like, boy, you wouldn't just believe what happened. I'm like, what? Diddy just slapped Drake.
Earlier this week, Diddy was arrested when he got into a fight with UCLA football coach Sal Alosi. The coach had criticized Diddy's son, junior defensive back Justin Combs, during practice. UCLA police arrested Diddy on suspicion of criminal threats and assault with a deadly weapon, which was a kettlebell.
On December 27, 1999, Jennifer Lopez, Sean Puffy Combs, and Puffy's 19-year-old rap protege, Jamal Shine Barrow, walked into Club New York, a Manhattan night spot near Times Square. Suddenly, all hell broke loose.
And at some point, one of those people in that group fired off guns and other gunfire was had.
Shine was among the shooters.
It was a scary thing to have happen to you, to be standing somewhere where bullets go past your head.
Inside, 3 people lay wounded.
I didn't know Cassie, but I knew somebody who was going through the same thing she was going through, and that was Kim Porter. So people ask me, and they send me clips of Cassie, I guess it's an affidavit to the courts of what she experienced. And it's like, it was the same thing Kim was going through. The same thing, bro. Kim was going through the same thing. The beatings, you know what I'm saying?
What? What you got to say now? What you got to say now? What you got to say now? You ain't got shit to say when you put your girl on the snap.
Well, now a shocking security camera video appearing to show Sean Diddy Combs brutally assaulting an ex-girlfriend.
And we want to warn you that the video is disturbing to watch. As you can see here in this video from March of 2016, Combs, in nothing but a towel, is seen shoving, kicking, and dragging Cassie Ventura inside a Los Angeles hotel. Fox 9's Teresa Priolo joins us live in studio with more on the video and the impact that it could have on Combs, whose homes were raided in March as part of a sex trafficking probe, Teresa.
His reign of terror has gone on for decades. There have been countless victims, and he has destroyed many lives. After the Cassie tape, he issued this statement.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life, but sometimes you got to do that. I was fucked up. I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, and go into rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
Let me know your thoughts in the comment section.